Welcome to our channel Imam Ali's Legacy. Our channel aims to shed light on the invaluable lessons and guidance imparted by Imam Ali, covering a wide range of topics including spirituality, leadership, justice, morality, and philosophy. Through detailed explanations, reflections, and insightful interpretations, we bring Imam Ali's words to life, helping you connect with his divine wisdom in today's world. Whether you're seeking spiritual growth, intellectual enlightenment, or simply a deeper understanding of the teachings of one of history's most influential leaders, this channel is for you. Join us as we embark on a journey of knowledge and inspiration straight from the sacred texts of Nahj al-Balagha. Subscribe to stay updated with weekly content, including sermons, letters, and sayings of Imam Ali, along with their meanings and practical applications in our lives. The primary and the secondary, the conflict between the adoption of either the world or the hereafter as ultimate ends, and the enjoyment of the other is the kind that exists between a perfect and an imperfect end. If the imperfect is made the ultimate goal, the perfect is necessarily missed, whereas if the perfect were one's end and goal, it would not necessarily preclude the imperfect. The same is true of anything primary in relationship to its secondaries. If something secondary were made as the aim, it would result in deprivation from the primary. But if the primary is made the aim and the goal, the secondary, being a corollary of the primary, is automatically included. This is most eloquently explained in Hikmah 269 of Nahj al-Balagha. There are two types of workers among the people of the world. One type is represented by the man who works in this world for this world, and his involvement in the world makes him forget the hereafter. He is worried about those whom he shall leave behind when he dies, lest poverty should strike them, as if he were himself secure of it, i.e., sure of not being poor in the hereafter. So he spends his life for the worldly benefit of others, earning nothing for his own eternal life in the hereafter. The other type of man works in the world for the sake of the hereafter and secures his share of the world effortlessly. He derives benefit from both and comes to possess both the worlds. As a result, he acquires honor before Allah, who grants him whatever he asks of him. Rumi offers an interesting allegory. He compares the hereafter and the world to a caravan of camels and the trail of dung that it leaves behind. If one's aim were to own the camels, he would also have the camels' dung and wool. But if one wants only the dung and the wool, he will never come to acquire the camels, and will always be collecting dung and wool of camels which belong to others. Hanker you after faith, for its pursuit yields a beauty, wealth, honor, and good fortune. Consider the hereafter as a camel train. The world is a trail of wool and dung in its rear. If you want only the wool, you will never the camels own. Yet if you own a camel train, isn't its wool your own? That the relation of the world to the hereafter is like that of a secondary thing to its primary. Worldliness, being a pursuit of the secondary, leads to deprivation from the benefits of the hereafter. Other worldliness by itself ensures the benefits of the world. Such a teaching originates in the Holy Quran. 148 of Surat Imran expressly, and verses 18 and 19 of Surat Al-Isra together with verse 20 of Surat Al-Shura implicitly present this view. A relevant tradition, there is a well-known tradition found in the texts of Hadith as well as in other books, and is also mentioned in the last will of Imam al-Hasan al-Muqtaba. This is the text of the tradition in regard to the world: be as if you were going to live forever. With respect to the hereafter, be as if you were going to die tomorrow. This tradition has been highly controversial in that it has led to contradictory interpretations. Some people interpret it as implying that one should deal with worldly matters with relaxed inattention and without hurrying. Whenever one is faced with an affair of worldly life, one should say to himself, there is still a lot of time, why hurry? But when performing good deeds for the hereafter, one should imagine as if he were not going to be alive after tomorrow and say to himself, there is not much time left, it is already too late. Others, with the conviction that Islam never recommends in negligence and carelessness, which certainly has not been the practice of the leaders of the faith, have said that what is implied is that one should always approach the worldly affairs as if he were immortal, attend to them with attention and care, not perform them in a perfunctory manner with the pretext that life is fleeting. Rather, they say, the works of the world should be done with firmness and great foresight and attention, as if one were going to live till the end of the world. The rationale for this is that if one were to die, others will derive benefit from one's deeds. The affairs of the hereafter, however, are in Allah's hand, so think of them as if you were going to die tomorrow and there is not much time left for anything. As can be noticed, the first of these two recommends negligence and lack of commitment towards the affairs of the world, whereas the second advises a similar attitude towards the hereafter. Obviously, none of these two interpretations can be regarded as acceptable. In our opinion, this, one of the most subtle of traditions, consists of an invitation to action, care and attention, and avoidance of negligence and indifference, whether with respect to the worldly activities or to those which relate to the hereafter. Suppose a person living in a house knows that sooner or later he will have to move to another house where he will stay permanently. However, he does not know the day, the month, or the year when he shall have to make to move. Such a person is in a state of dilemma with regard to matters relevant to his present home and his plans about his future house. If he knows that he will move tomorrow, he will not pay any attention to the repairs and upkeep of his present house, and attend only to matters concerning the planned move. But if he knows that he will not be changing residence for several years, he will act in an opposite manner. Presently, he will devote all his attention to the present house, knowing that there is much time left to deal with those relevant to his future residence. Now this person who is in a state of doubt about the exact date of his move, not knowing whether he will have to move in the near future or remain in his present house for years, meets a friend who wisely advises him to tend to the affairs of his present house, as if he were to continue living there for a long time and not to neglect its upkeep. As to the other house, the wise friend advises him to get it ready as if he were going to move tomorrow and have it furnished as soon as possible. This advice will have the consequence that it will make him adopt a serious and active attitude towards both his houses. Suppose someone wants to start an undertaking, such as writing a book or founding an institution or taking up a project which requires years of pursuit. If such a person thinks that he will not live long enough to finish his work, he might desist from starting it. That is why it is said that one must think that he will live for long. But the same person, from the point of view of repenting for his sins and compensating for the past excesses with regard to religious duties or the rights of the people, which he has transgressed, futile of which require little time for their accomplishment, given the will to do so, if hundreds may keep on postponing them every day, so that the promised tomorrow may never come. In such cases, contrary to the first kind of attitude, to assume that one has still enough time, and there is no reason to hasten, would result in negligence and delay in the fulfillment of one's duties. Therefore, here one should assume that there is not much time left. Thus we see that in one case, to assume that one has enough time encourages action and endeavor, and the assumption that there is no time left leads one to abstain from action and endeavor. In the other case, the result is quite the opposite. Here, the assumption that one has still a lot of time leads to negligence and procrastination, and the assumption that there is not much time left leads to quick accomplishment of duties. In the light of this, the hadith means to say that with regard to one kind of duties, one should assume that he is going to live on, and with respect to another kind, he must suppose that not much remains of his life. This interpretation is not baseless. There are several traditions which confirm the above interpretation. The reason that this tradition gave rise to controversy is that attention was not paid to such traditions. Safinat al-Bahar under Rifq relates a tradition of the Holy Prophet addressed to Jabir. Indeed, this Islam is a firm religion. So do not make it hard on yourself, but act in it with mildness. Cultivate like in one who thinks he will never die, after like one who is afraid he will die tomorrow. In volume 15 of Bahar al-Anwar, in the section on Akhlaq, page 29, it is related from Al-Kafi that the Holy Prophet addressed Ali, saying, "This religion of Islam is a firm religion. So work like him who hopes to live for long and be cautious like him who is afraid that he will die tomorrow." That is, when commencing a useful project that requires a long time for its completion, assume that you will live long enough to complete it. However, with regard to matters which you might postpone, thinking that you have enough time to handle them, assume that you shall die tomorrow. So that time is not wasted and delay is avoided. In Najl Balagha, it is related from the Holy Prophet that he said, "Attend to the affairs of the world, but with respect to the hereafter, be such as if you are going to die tomorrow." In the same book, the Prophet Hirap is related as saying, "Work like the man who imagines that he will never die, and be cautious like one who knows he is going to die tomorrow." In another tradition, the Prophet is reported to have said, "The mu'min is the most vexed of all men, for he must attend to the affairs of the world as well as to those of the hereafter." In Safinat al-Bihar, under Nanaf's one hadith by Imam Musa al-Kazim is related from Tuhaf al-Ukul to the effect that, "A who abandons the world for his hereafter or abandons his hereafter for his world is not from us." The above discussion, on the whole, underscores our interpretation of the said hadith and also shows that this approach finds a recurring echo in the teachings of the leaders of the Islamic faith. What is Shi'ism? One Shi'ism in the contemporary world nowadays. According to the latest statistics, there are more than 130 million Shiites in different parts of the world. They are concentrated mostly in Iraq, Pakistan, India, Indonesia, Syria, Jordan, Yemen, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, Kuwait, Turkey, Egypt, and other Muslim countries of North and Central Africa. From the quantitative point of view, Shi'ism comprises about 1/4 of the total Islamic community of the world. From the point of view of intellectual and scholarly activity, a notable portion of the intellectual treasures of the Islamic world has been created by Shiite scholars. Yet, unfortunately, there are still quite a few people everywhere who are not acquainted with the principles of Shiite ideologies. Even our Sunni brothers, who comprise 3/4 of the Islamic community and in many countries live alongside by side with us, are not completely informed of our method of thought and beliefs. For those who live in the East, this situation should not cause much surprise for the agents of colonialism, who see the preservation of their interests in causing internal conflicts in this region, have explored every avenue possible to cause hatred and division between these two groups of Muslims. In order to achieve this end, they have even inverted the truth itself. As a consequence of this pessimism, there have been occasional fights between the two groups of Muslims, fights which have incurred nothing but loss upon the Islamic community. Yet, for those who had fixed their covetous eye and vital resources of this vast region, such disputes were considered as a great victory. Fortunately, as a result of the awakening of the East and the spread of means of communication as well as the disappearance of unworthy prejudices, this situation has changed almost completely nowadays. This change is indicated by the fact that about 20 years ago, on behalf of the professors and directors of Al-Azhar University in Cairo, one of the leading centers of learning of the Sunni world, there was established a center called Eighth Center for Rapprochement between Islamic schools with the collaboration of Shiite scholars. The aim of this center, as certified by its name, is to bring about familiarity and proximity between the Muslims of the world. Its members are comprised of well-known Shiite and Sunni scholars, and by chance the General Secretary is as presently a Persian Shiite taunt 107. This center publishes a scholarly journal called Risalat al-Islam, in which scholars of both schools write articles based on sound proofs in order to illuminate the minds of the general Muslim public throughout the world. The late rector of Al-Azhar University and the Grand Mufti of the Sunnis, Sheikh Mahmud Shaltut, for the first time declared openly the official recognition of the religious teaching of the Shiite school. He permitted all Sunnis to perform their religious duties according to Shiite beliefs if they wish to do so. Of course, the background of this declaration had been prepared before by other scholars such as Sheikh Abd al-Majid Salim. This declaration had a very good effect on the great majority of the Muslim public and was very effective in creating mutual understanding between the two groups. Only a few fanatically minded people were disturbed by it. 2 centers of Shiite learning. Shiism possesses several universities in different parts of the world where Islamic sciences can be studied. The most important among them are the centers of Najaf, Qum and Mashhad. Most of the outstanding leaders of Shiism come from these 3 centers, and they are all professors who teach in these universities. In these and other centers of learning, there are numerous scholars, writers, propagators of the faith and preachers. A relatively large number of students are studying in Qum, Mashhad and Najaf. The graduating students, after completing their studies, are sent to different regions as directors of religious affairs or religious preachers, or, if necessary, they are called upon to become teachers and lecturers in the centers of learning. An important segment of the scholarly and intellectual treasures of Islam has been written by Shiite scholars. Also, according to reliable and trustworthy documents at hand, all or most of the Islamic sciences have been founded by Shiite scholars. That is, Shias have been the first to create and establish those sciences. 107 statement may be labeled out of date now. The said center is now inactive due to the control of the Egyptian government of the management of the Al-Azhar Mosque and University, and prejudices against the Shia as in Egypt and elsewhere are now rife. Third ed. Shiite preachers are trained in such a way that, unlike other speakers, they can deliver from memory and without any notes, instructive scientific and social lectures as well as warm and pleasing sermons, each exceeding 1 or 2 hours. The late great leader and guide of the world of Shiism, namely Ayatollah Burujardi, expressed a great deal of interest in making Shiism known to the whole world. He was sure that if the beliefs of Shiite Muslims were to be made known to the world in a correct way, they would be rapidly accepted, and people would find them a shelter within which they can find solutions for the social and moral difficulties facing the modern world. Islam can provide an answer for the needs of humanity of our century and of any other century. For this reason, he endeavored to send propagators of Shiism to Europe and America and sent competent preachers of the faith to these regions. Unfortunately, the possibilities did not permit any more than this. In West Germany, specifically in Hamburg on the bank of the beautiful Ulster Lake, plans were made for building a majestic mosque called Ath Mosque of Persians. This mosque, the first Shiite religious building in the Western world, has been constructed on a 4,000 square meter lot and with heavy expenses. A large number of Muslims, Shiite and Sunni alike, perform their religious rites in this mosque. Tourists visiting Hamburg come to see this beautiful and interesting mosque in which are combined Oriental and Occidental schools of art and architecture, and where the Oriental and Islamic aspects are very obvious. In Shiite universities, especially those of Najaf, Qum, Mashhad and Tehran, there are large libraries, most of whose books consist of works of renowned Islamic scholars. It is also of interest to note that the great Al-Azhar University of Cairo and the Islamic Caroline University in Morocco, which are among the eldest universities in the world, were founded by Shiites, the first by the Fatimid caliphs and the second by the Idrisid sultans.